These are a few tips that I've learned throughout my gut health journey. The first one is not to mix water with food. A lot of the times from a young age, we've been served water with food. We've seen it in TV, we've seen it everywhere. But this is actually one of the biggest things that affected my gut health, and I didn't even know about it. So when you're eating food, you should only be eating food. Of course, if you need a little bit water to help you swallow, if you're choking, then you should drink water. But it shouldn't be a regular thing where you're eating food and then you're sipping water. Because what this does is it doesn't allow the food to absorb into your body as it should. And this affects your gut health a lot. So instead, what you should be doing is drinking your water at least an hour before or after your meals, okay? Now, while we're on the topic of water, I want to talk about how important hydration is. So when we think about how food gets processed in our body, hydration and how you nourish yourself is very important to the flow and how everything gets processed. So if you're eating a lot of dense food, a lot of physical food, right, then it's going to take a lot more energy and power from your body to digest that. So it's very important to use water and hydration to ease that process and allow your body to digest that a lot easier. So think about it like when you're drinking water, you're making everything flow smoother. I recommend drinking a lot of water first thing in the morning and then waiting at least an hour before you eat something. What this will do is it will kind of give foundation so that everything you eat will already have that like fluid motion, if that makes sense. It won't just be dense and stuck there. It will already have that water, which will make everything flow smoother, okay? The second thing I want to talk about in terms of food is a very simple concept, right? Which is as within, so without. What you're putting into your body will come out of your body. You can't expect to be eating junk food and processed food and having an amazing digestive system and amazing gut health, right? Now, a lot of people might listen to this and they're like, okay, like I'm actually trying. I'm actually eating healthy, like, and still my gut health isn't the best, which is something that I experienced, and I didn't understand why my gut health was still suffering, even though I was really eating clean. And this is where trial and error comes in. There was a time period where I was eating very clean, but my gut health was very poor. And I didn't understand because I thought that, if I'm eating clean, then my gut health should be very well. And what I've learned is that the food that I thought was very clean and nourishing was actually not good for me. And it, for me personally, wasn't digesting well. So for example, throughout that period of time, I was eating a lot of raw leafy greens. And you think of raw leafy greens and you're like, wow, that's super healthy. But actually, for me personally and for my body, that made me have a lot of gut health issues. Now, I'm not telling you not to eat raw leafy greens. I'm just telling you to listen to your body. And it's very, very important for you to understand that you know yourself the best. Like, you can listen to people's experiences online, tell you what diet worked for them and what foods are good for them, and then you try it and it's not good for you, right? And I think that it makes perfect sense that different people can have different food that works for them. But the common denominator, no matter who you are, no matter what food you eat, one thing is the same for everyone. You should be eating clean, whole, natural foods. In no circumstance is there a situation which you should be eating processed food and thinking that's what works for you. No, you should be eating whole ingredient foods from nature as God intended, with limited to no human intervention. So things that are packaged even in factories, try to stay away from that. Try to really eat whole, clean foods, and I promise you it's the most nourishing diet. It's the most nourishing form of honoring yourself because you are connecting with life itself. Like when you are eating things from a bag, things that are packaged, things that were made in a factory, a lot of the times people think of that as, oh, food and junk food, but it lacks that component of life. It lacks the component of it absorbing the sunlight, it being in the grass. Like, I feel like because we are forms of life, we should be consuming forms of life too, right? Now, there's a lot of people that talk about veganism, carnivore diet, omnivore diet. What I think is what I said earlier. I truly believe that there can be someone that thrives off of a vegan diet, someone that thrives off of an omnivore diet, and someone that thrives off of a carnivore diet, right? And people could share their stories and they're all telling the truth, right? They're all actually saying that this is what worked for them. but they're all very different. One is vegan, one is omnivore, one is carnivore, right? And I think that we see this a lot in nature too. There's herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. And I think that a lot of the times you'll see me comparing myself and my life to nature because it's a way for me to simplify everything, right? So I can't tell you what would work for you, but what I can tell you is that once you try things out, that is the best way for you to find out. Okay, now I'm going to move on to another tip, which is regulating your nervous system. A lot of people talk about this, and I'm just going to simplify it down to saying you need to be calm, because when you're in a state of distress or chaos, then there's a strong mind-body connection. If you really want a smooth and regular gut health system, then you need to first regulate your nervous system, because your mind and your body, they send signals to one another. There's a strong connection between the two. And just a couple statistics is that over 70% of the immune system lives in the gut, and over 90% of serotonin lives in the gut. This just shows how much of a strong connection there is between your gut health and your mental health and your physical health. They all go hand in hand. So this means that even if you're eating very clean and you're hydrating yourself, but you're de-stressed and you're in constant chaos, that will affect your gut health, right? As within, so without. Ensure to find a way to be calm, and then that way it will reflect to your gut health. A lot of people may not have a regular stool cycle, and this is something that's very important to have because our body thrives off of routine. So number one, it's very important, very, very important to be eating the same foods at the same times. Now, by the same foods, maybe I should rephrase that. I'm not saying you should be eating the same food every single day, although if you do that, that's amazing, and I actually advocate for that. I think that it's a very good way of putting your body into routine, but I'm not saying you need to follow the exact same thing every day, but at least have the same caloric intake, right? It's very important to be eating the same amount of caloric intake, the same type of foods at the same exact times, because this puts your body into a state of routine. Our body thrives off of that. So it's very, very, very important. Try as much as you can to put your body into that routine, to be drinking water in the morning at the same time, the same amount of water, waiting the same amount of time, eating the same amount of food, the same caloric intake at the same time. Really try to put your body in that routine, and I think it will make a huge difference. Because a lot of the times what happens is that people can actually be eating clean and healthy foods, but they're not digesting it properly. And then think about it, right? When we release things through our stool, that is us releasing excess waste and toxins that our body no longer needs. So when you're not able to release that, then it gets stored up, and that accumulation of toxins creates inflammation, which is what I experienced. I had chronic acne, and a lot of that had to do with my gut health. Your body's always communicating with you, right? Some people will look at acne and they'll say, oh, acne, it's just a genetic or teenage thing, whatever. No, it's always a message, right? And a lot of the times we think that it has to do with just oily foods or poor hygiene. For me, that wasn't the case. You know, I was eating clean, I had good hygiene, but there's still a lot of acne, chronic, like horrible acne. And it's very important to understand why that's happening. So oftentimes inflammation, whether it's acne, psoriasis, whatever it may be, eczema, that's a form of your body saying, okay, there's something wrong with how we're digesting food. I think there's a very strong connection between gut health and inflammation. So if you have inflammation and you're still eating clean and you don't understand why, it might be because of your gut health. So it's very important to have a regular stool cycle and to really put your body into that routine of eating the same foods at the same times. This is very key right here. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, make sure not to drink water with food. If you need an extra boost for your gut health, I recommend going the natural holistic approach, which for me, moringa powder and slippery elm powder helped me a lot. These are powders that you can get at the superfood store, natural food store, and essentially how I did it is I would start off my morning on an empty stomach, just taking it with water. You could do room temperature water or a little bit warm water. There are all forms of things you could look up on natural remedies and holistic approaches towards gut health. Barbara O'Neill is pretty good if you want to take a look at her stuff. But I truly believe that we have all the answers internally, and truly, like, you can listen to all the videos, but at the end of the day, you're the one to live your life. You're the one to take action and just get in tune with your body. And this is another thing that I wanted to talk about is find a food that helps you stool regularly and then integrate that food into your routine. I can't tell you what that food is for you, But just through trial and error, try different foods and find one that makes you stool regularly, and then integrate that into your routine at an optimal time that works for you, and that will help you with your gut health. That will help you with maintaining that cycle, that flow, and that routine, right? It's very important. Routine, routine, and routine. A lot of the times people can be eating different foods at different times, and we need to understand that our body works on systems, right? We need to understand that if we really want to regulate our gut health, and by the way, this goes for fitness too, for health as well, but for the matter of this video, let's talk about gut health. Same foods at the same time, same water at the same time. Really routine, have that cycle, because our body thrives when it's in that state of regulating itself. Now, I know this video is kind of all over the place. I don't have a script and it's just free flowing. Another thing I just thought about that really helps is fasting. I think it's important to let your body reset itself naturally. So when we refrain ourselves from eating food, that allows our body to come back to its natural state and reset itself. But when we're constantly eating, we're constantly stimulating ourselves, and that doesn't allow our body to fully cleanse itself and come back to its natural state. So I would recommend having at least 1 day a week where you food fast. Another tip that I wanted to mention was stagnation to flow. So we are free-flowing beings. We should be moving. If you're stagnant, if you're not moving, then obviously that will affect your gut health. Because think about it, for food to get processed in your body, it will be a lot harder and will take a lot more energy for you to do that if you're stagnant. But if you're free-flowing, whether it's movement, mobility, walking, it could be running, it could be working out, any form of movement, it's amazing, because you are making your body flow better and more naturally, and that fluidity is so important towards generating momentum. See, a lot of the times when we're having problems with our gut health, the root of it is stagnation. So really make sure to implement movement within your day-to-day, because that will help you gain fluidity and will benefit your gut health a lot. So yeah, these are a couple of the tips that helped me throughout my journey towards better gut health and better overall wellness. I really hope that you can add value from this video. If you're getting into your health and wellness journey, welcome to my channel. This channel is about holistic health, wellness, fitness, mindset, everything to do with becoming the best version of yourself from the inside out. And yeah, make sure to get out of your comfort zone and take care.